Born the eldest of two children. Born the eldest of two children in 1913, Rosa Louise Macaulay was raised on her grandparents' farm in Pine Level, Alabama. As a child, Rosa was exposed to the realities of segregation. She walked to school daily because the elementary school bus system prohibited black students from riding. Rosa later attended the Alabama State Teachers College High School. However, due to both her grandmother and mother's illnesses, she was forced to drop out. At 19, Rosa met Raymond Parks, who worked with Montgomery's NAACP chapter. After their marriage in 1932, and much encouragement, she earned her high school diploma. Rosa joined Raymond in the NAACP, serving as the chapter's secretary and youth leader.
History is peculiar. It places gifted and talented women and men in situations where they must make a choice. The choice she made was on the afternoon of the 1st of December, 1955, on a bus as she was going home from her seamstress job in a department store in Montgomery, Alabama.
Rosa, along with 3 other black passengers, were told to give up their seats to a white male passenger. She refused and was arrested. An all-day bus boycott was organized on the day of Rosa's trial, December 5, 1955, where she was fined $14 and found guilty.
She was a role model for courage in the face of racial injustice. Rosa Parks, through her quiet eloquence, through her commitment both to her faith and to the cause of civil rights and racial equality, was prepared to sacrifice everything, her security, even her life, to fight for what was right, at least her perception of what was justice.
Thousands of people walked, carpooled, and took cabs to work. The boycott lasted 381 days, with the 26-year-old Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. as their leader. Rosa was not the first person to refuse to give up her seat. 2 other women were previously arrested for the same offense. However, it was this quiet 42-year-old who became the face of the Montgomery bus boycott. In 1956, groundbreaking history was made.
The Supreme Court decision by a 9-0 vote supported the civil rights position calling for an end to racial segregation on municipal buses.
Unable to find work, largely due to her political stance, the Parks moved north to Detroit, Michigan. And by 1965, Rosa began to work for Congressman John Conyers until 1988 when she retired. In memory of her husband and in her vision for a better tomorrow, Rosa co-founded the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute for Self-Development, which educates young people on the civil rights movement, gives freedom bus tours, and provides youth with professional guidance. Rosa also worked giving lectures and advocating for social justice. Rosa Parks passed away on October 24, 2005. She was the first woman and second African American to lie in honor at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Rosa received over 24 honorary doctrines and numerous national and international awards, among them the Medal of Freedom from President Clinton and the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor. Rosa was a grassroots activist for social justice and peace, through her efforts in the civil rights movement to her participation in the anti-apartheid movement for South Africa. Although she never planned on getting arrested, her simple action changed the course of a nation.
I think Mrs. Parks unexpectedly had greatness thrust upon her. I think she was born for it. And I do think she achieved it. You see what I mean? But had she not, of that particular day, said, "I'm not moving, my feet hurt," we would have a different nation and a different world.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this last Black History Month edition of Mondays with Miko, and I hope you all enjoyed that little segment from Rosa Parks. Because I've been starting each show this month with a little short video of somebody in history, and I wanted, I saved Rosa Parks for last. If you think about, oh, by the way, I have a great guest today. She's from End Coronavirus. And so please share, please share. And if you're watching this on repeat, thank you so much. Still share it. Drop me a comment. Let's talk about Rosa for a second. Born in 1913, y'all, that wasn't so long ago. But check this out. She was found guilty of sitting in that white man's seat. Found guilty of just sitting in that seat. And she was found guilty in 1955. My parents were born in 1947. And then in the end of racial segregation on municipal buses didn't start until 1956. And it took the Supreme Court to make that decision. So I want to start, I'm a numbers person, but I think it's important to understand, when we're talking about systemic racism and white supremacy, this is not a long, long, long time ago. We just don't teach it, right? America just wants to turn a blind eye to the history. It is not too far recent history. It's right there. It's right there. So, and Rosa, I would like to think we would have been real good friends. Because look, she was on a bus, and you heard Maya Angelou said, and if it wasn't for her feet hurting, we wouldn't be this, the country that we are today. But guess what? I kind of beg to differ. I think that sometimes you just get sick of it. And I think Rosa had enough. Yeah, her feet may have hurt, but she said, today, not today. Not today. You better go ahead with that. If I'm gonna get arrested, I'm gonna get arrested. It's gonna start. So anyway, much respect to Rosa Parks. And if you're just joining me, thank you. I have a great guest today. And I'm gonna be bringing her on shortly. She is from End Coronavirus. And I'm gonna do a little something. I'm gonna have a little bit different today. I'm gonna go a little bit longer. So we're gonna have the segment on COVID, which is so important. And I think you guys will really like to hear her perspective on COVID and her organization and what they're thinking of. And then I want to take a little bit of overtime today, if you guys don't mind. I feel compelled to talk about Insurrection Day. Last Monday I was sick. I wasn't feeling well. I had I don't know what they call it, a swollen lymph node or something. And so, I didn't get a chance to give my 2 cents. So I still want to talk about Insurrection Day. So, and then I also want to talk about minimum wage, and that was from that I ran out of time, and I didn't. Let me see, am I freezing out? I think I'm back. So, we got time, or if you guys don't mind hanging out with me for a little bit, I'm going to extend this episode. So with that being said, let me go ahead and bring on my special guest. Go ahead and bring her on. And there she is. Hello, Tiffany, my friend.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good. Oh, look, we're both sporting Africa, the motherland on our ears.
Yes, the motherland on our ears. We wear the motherland where we go.
That's right. I love it. And actually today I have on a Black Lives Matter t-shirt that another friend of mine, Rudy Bryant, he's able to get these to his daughter. And these are really, really cool, and they feel really, really good. So
nice.
But today is the last Monday of Black History Month, and I'm gonna miss it. I think I'm gonna keep it going. It's gonna be Black History Year on the Mondays with Miko show.
We're gonna keep it Black. Yeah, we're gonna keep it Black History Year.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Tiffany. Let's
You're
just jump
welcome.
in. Now, the
Yeah.
organization you're with is End Coronavirus. Can you tell us a little bit about that organization?
Yes, real quick, I just wanted to say I'm glad you're feeling better and happy
Thank
belated
you.
birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, yes, we got to throw that in there. We got to celebrate life. So,
Yes.
but yes, I am Tiffany James. I'm with End Coronavirus. End Coronavirus is an organization, a global organization, and the purpose is in the name, to end coronavirus. And I guess you're trying to figure out, well, how, right? Can we actually get rid of this virus? Yes, we can
Before
actually.
you tell us that,
Okay.
about the organization, like who founded it? Who founded
Yes,
the organization, and
yes.
how did you
So,
get involved?
okay, yeah. So the founder is Yanir Bar-Yam. He is an MIT professor and global pandemic expert. And he's also a physicist. And
Wow.
yeah, so he's amazing, very, very just he has wonderful experiences, and I'm learning so much from him. But I got involved because I am also on the DHEC Environmental Justice Committee.
Okay.
And they reached out to me to help get information out to the Black community. And so a friend of mine knew that I was working with DHAG doing that. And he heard one of his friends worked within coronavirus as a volunteer. And he connected us. He connected us because they wanted some more grassroots people who had their ear to the ground and knew what was going on with people on the ground. So they connected me with End Coronavirus, and ever since then, and that was May 2020, I've been, riding with them.
Okay, like 30 seconds on this one. You're not expecting this question. So
Okay.
I know you were on the Pete Buttigieg campaign.
Yes, yes.
How do you feel about your vote today?
I am so extremely proud of him. I'm so extremely happy that he's the Secretary of Department of Transportation. I think that that's amazing. Transportation has a place in my heart because I worked in transportation as a community organizer, community engagement specialist for the bus system in Colombia. So I know all about transit justice and environmental justice. And we're just so far behind in the US when it comes to that. And so Pete Buttigieg is the perfect person to turn that department around and to get us where we need to be in mobility throughout the country, in the world.
Awesome. Awesome. So back to coronavirus, but I'm going to be reaching out to you on the transportation because
Yes.
there's some things that we're trying to figure out down here in Marion County. We can use your help, but I'll be back.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another day. So you said you're a community organizer, you don't work in the community. Like, what kind of work do you do within coronavirus?
So within coronavirus, I do public information. I get information out to the public that they wouldn't normally get. We amplify messages from the CDC. We amplify messages from the World Health Organization. And I like to think that we take it a step further and we take all the politics out of it and we give straight science. So public information and community engagement, getting people involved with advocacy, advocating, for better working conditions, advocating for a statewide mask mandate, advocating for more isolation spaces. Like people live in multi-generational homes. If one person catch COVID, then more than likely everyone's going to get it. So how can somebody isolate away from their family members? So I do community outreach with the organization to get people empowered about their role in ending coronavirus.
Got it. So in coronavirus, and you're about to tell us. And how does your organization believe? And when you say end coronavirus, you mean like forever? Like, what do you mean by end coronavirus?
Forever and ever. So, I mean, there's only been one disease that was eradicated from the planet ever, and that's smallpox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how we got rid of it, but we finally came out with vaccines. But with smallpox, you can just get vaccinated once and that's it. Like you don't need to get vaccinated again. But with all the other viruses that we have not found a cure for, you have to continue to get vaccinated every year or every so often. So um, and your question was about how can
Yeah,
we?
how? Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the tactics that your organization believes should be implemented in
Yeah.
order to end it? Like, how do we get there?
Yeah.
Because it seems like every single time, we feel good. Well, maybe it's spring or maybe it's summer. We can go back to our daily lives. Something else
Mm.
pops up.
Yeah. Well, the issue is that the virus, as long as it's spreading from person to person, it's going to stay here. And the virus is a living organism. It's fighting for life. Just,
Okay.
we're actually really in a war with the virus right now. And as the virus mutate, what it's doing is trying to mutate around what we are putting in place to stop it. So it's trying to mutate around our mask. It's trying to mutate around our vaccinations. So it's fighting to stay alive. And I like to say that the different variants are coming together to survive. And I think that's what people have to do. If we want to fight against this virus, we're going to have to come together to end it. And so what are the tactics in ending it? So we push a statewide or a nationwide stay-at-home order. That is what we're pushing. There's a global movement called the Zero COVID Alliance. And so we just joined that alliance because globally, there are countries that believe that this is something that we need to do to stop the virus. We are being told that we have to live with the virus and gain herd immunity, but we don't have to.
Right.
We will not gain herd immunity until at least a year or maybe into 2022 when we can actually put in measures to stop the virus in 5 to 6 weeks. A lot of people don't feel like it's possible. That's because I believe that the media and the government is not putting out messages to where people are more positive about it being possible. But it's most definitely possible. You just have to stop the spread. And by doing that, it's a stay-at-home order. There's travel restrictions involved because if you're creating a green zone where your area has no coronavirus cases in 14 days, but then you're allowing people to fly in without them isolating, or without them taking tests and isolating before coming in your area, then you're bringing the virus back into the area you worked so hard to get rid of the virus in.
So it
So
sounds like,
it includes
the virus started in I don't want to say where the virus started. Don't get me there. But in Asia,
right.
they have
Mhm.
very strict, you fly in, you got to quarantine, they got
Mhm.
governmental hotels, and they ain't
Mhm.
playing. You're not going anywhere. And their numbers reflect that, right?
Yep. Yeah. Their numbers reflect that. I mean, they don't have to wear masks when they go out. They're back to normal. They're back to life as normal. And if there's another case that happens, guess what? They can shut it down really quick as they detect it. Right. So
Right.
it's not to say that, if we got to zero in the whole United States, it's not to say that there's not somebody in, another country coming over with the virus. Is not to say that it cannot spread again, but what we do is we monitor it to where we can stop it before it spreads across the United States. But we have to first get to zero to stop it from entering again.
And we used to do that as a country, stop pandemics from getting here. But I'll digress.
Mhm.
I won't go there. So,
Right.
so where does your organization stand on the vaccinations?
Yeah, so we stand like with the vaccinations. We encourage people to get vaccinated. We believe that vaccinations is one of the tools towards getting to zero. We cannot get to zero without the vaccinations as well. We have to stop the spread. And then we have to get vaccinated so that we can, use all our tools in the toolbox to make sure this virus is not able to infect people. So yes, it's definitely a huge part of the zero COVID method.
And that totally makes sense. So how about with these and guys, if you have any questions for Tiffany, feel free to drop them in the comments there. these new variants, the South Carolina, the South African variants, the
Mhm.
UK variants.
Mhm.
How do you guys? What's your position on that?
Yeah, so these variants, there's still a lot of unknowns with it. We do know that the UK variant, well, we do know that all of the variants, the UK one as well as the South African one, they have a larger transmissible rates, right? So it's 70% more transmissible. And
Wow.
also, the UK variant is 30% more lethal. So that's a concern that scientists have and that our officials, our elected officials, that's a concern that they have about how March is going to look. Our cases
Right.
are going down, which is great, but we're still not in a wonderful place. I would say that it's going down because the holidays, we're out of holiday season right now. But I think that we can continue to go down if we continue to get people vaccinated and if
Hmm.
we implement stay-at-home orders. Also, just people doing their own part as well. Like, you don't need the government to tell you to, stop gathering. We have to come together as a community, and
Yeah.
we have to come together as a community and not gather, right? And
Right.
this is
Right.
something that our community has done for centuries. We've been surviving for centuries, and we've always overcome everything. So back in civil rights era, we overcame just segregation. We marched for 381 days. I mean, you played Rosa in this segment, so I feel that this kind of fits right on in.
That's
But
right. That's
we
right.
marched for 381 days. Not marched. We walked for 381 days. We did not use public transportation in Montgomery. 381 days, we decided to walk miles to work or call carpool to make a point, right? And for our freedoms, for our rights, and we won. Whenever we get together on one accord and say, yes, we can do this and we will do it, we do it. And if we can do that for 381 days, I believe that we can stay at home and stop gathering for 5 weeks. There's a lot involved with that. With the 5 weeks stay-at-home order, we believe it should be supported. We believe the government should pay people to stay at home so they will be able to provide for their basic needs while they're not going to work. We believe that the government should pay small businesses to be closed for 5 weeks so they will not lose their business. And I think small businesses would go for that because right now, just going a year into this, a lot of them are struggling. But if you say for 5 weeks, we can get to, if not zero, if we strive to get to zero and get to manageable levels of this virus, then we can open back up again and you will be able to open your business.
Yeah,
But
the interesting thing is it's almost 5 weeks
yeah.
is actually from a business perspective is not enough
Mhm.
unless we did it last March. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Now
Mhm.
businesses are a year in a hole, right? So
Right,
last
you're in the
March,
hole.
I would have thought it would have been perfect, right?
Yeah.
5 weeks, everybody shut down. Let's get healthier. Let's beat this thing,
Mhm.
And now
Yep.
you got this UK.
Mhm.
They just lifted. They had went on a lockdown and they lifted their lockdown.
Yes, they did. And in the United States, if it was my way, I wouldn't call it a lockdown because it's kind of, it's just really, restrictive. It just sounds restrictive and limiting. But I
Hmm.
would say like stay at home order, right? Just we need a stay at home order and it needs to be supported. I'm not sure if in UK if they paid people to stay at home. I'm not sure if they paid small businesses to close for 5 weeks. But you're right. We are in the hole. The small businesses are in a hole, and we've been pushing this since March of last year. We've been pushing and if we did it then, if we stopped, if we did a true stay-at-home order for 5 to 6 weeks at the very beginning, we will be where New Zealand and where Australia is at now with no coronavirus cases
Wow. Well, you
and
know
life
what?
back to normal.
I really think, I really think that you hit it right on the nail right there.
Hmm.
You hit it right on the nail. We've got to come together as a community and
Hmm.
look at those communities that have done it. We talked about
Yep.
Asia, you talked about New Zealand, and you said Australia, right?
Right. Australia, New Zealand, China, just different parts of the world who did do strict measures at the very beginning. They have, if not all of their normalcy back, they have some sense of normalcy, and we don't. We're going to be wearing masks well into 2022. We still really do not. Yeah, Dr. Fauci said that. Dr. Fauci said we'll be wearing masks until 2022, and which to me, and I always like to, when someone in the government says something, I like to add more to it because they're really trying to tell us the brightest side of the picture, and it's like, yeah, it's probably going to be not at the beginning of 2022. So, and it's really contingent upon how these variants, how they react to everything, and it's also contingent upon if we're going to get more mutations. As long as the virus can spread, it will mutate, and that's why we have to stop the spread. And to stop the spread, we have to put in measures like a stay-at-home order and travel restrictions in order to stop people from gathering. We have to control this virus. And when we do control the virus, then we will be able to distribute the vaccine better. We'll be able to do contract tracing. We'll be able to do so much more if we actually strive for zero and control this virus. Striving for zero doesn't mean that you'll get to zero, but it means you'll get to a lot, a more controllable situation.
Well, that's awesome. And on that note, honey, I thank you so much. And you guys hear her. You hear her. Well, one last thing. We have one last thing for Marion County in terms of, the lockdown has to come from the government and the state. And you know where we live.
I know where you live.
So, I can't say, but what can we do? What can people in Marion County and in Michigan and in New Jersey and in California and in Georgia that are listening to you right now, knowing that our government has not locked down, and the final word is, what can they do?
So I'm glad you asked that, because the people always lead the government. When the people come together and do what's best for the people, the government looks and say, this is what the people want. If we continue to go to the movies and go to these not essential places, the government will be like, this is what the people want, so we'll keep it open. But if we show them that this is not what we want right now, then they will change their method. But I will say what we can do to come together is, look at your circle, look at your family, friends, coworkers, and say, you know what, I'm going to take charge of my own circle. I am going to call you every week, and I'm going to see if anybody has any symptoms. And if so, I'm going to direct you to a testing site. I'm going to direct you to, what you need to fight the virus if you do have it. And if you don't have it, and if you're within the phases of vaccination, I'm going to show you where you can get your vaccines at. I think people need to step up and say, I care about my family, I care about my friends, so I am going to take charge of my own circle, since, I can't take charge of the whole government and do what the government should do to stop the virus. But what I can do is manage it enough in my own circle to where we can catch the virus before it spreads to other people that we love, or just to take care of people who do have the virus, and to help people within your circle find isolation spaces. So that's what we can do. We can step up, and that may sound like a lot of work, but it really isn't. It's just a phone call to say, hey, do you have X, Y, and Z symptoms? If so, do you have a ride to get your test? Here are some things that you can do if you do have coronavirus. You can get an air purifier in your house. You can don't sleep on your back. You can ask your doctor. Here's the most important thing that people do not know if they do catch COVID. When you go to your doctor and you test positive and you go to the hospital, you ask your doctor for the monocular antibody. I don't know if I said it right.
Yes. I had another guest speaker that told me that, and they said they have tons of it and it's not even being used.
Yeah, it's not being used. You have to act for it. It's saving lives. I had 5 family members with COVID in Mississippi. One was my 81-year-old grandmother who survived cancer. She said that COVID has been the worst the worst sickness she's ever had in her life. I had 3 aunts with COVID and a cousin with COVID. 2 of my family members, my grandma and one of my aunts, got that treatment because they went to the doctor, they went to the hospital, and their doctors proactively gave them that treatment. There's not a lot of doctors proactively giving that treatment, so you have to ask for it, and it's saving lives. It is the antibody treatment is saving lives. That's what Trump got. And people don't know that that same treatment is available for us.
To
So
everybody. As a matter of fact, here in closest to us, I'm not sure they may be doing it at MUSC, but I had speakers on from Care South and Dillon, and they also recommended that.
Yes.
But on that, you know, I'm gonna be back in touch.
Okay.
We're gonna follow up. We're gonna see how we can get some help down here in Marion County on the ground, and we'll be tracking to see what happens in the UK. You be safe.
Yes. Thank you so much, Miko.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All right, y'all. Wow. Just a plethora of information. You know, and her, Tiffany is a good friend of mine, but you know, her organization says end coronavirus. And to end coronavirus means that we got to take big old steps, right? We got to take steps to make it end. So I'm going to segue a little bit because I said that I wanted to talk to you guys about the insurrection, right? So I am going to, and I hope you can hear it. So if you guys can't, I'm going to play a video. And if you can't hear it, just let me know. Just kind of like say, you can't hear it. Because I want to play a little bit, and hopefully Facebook doesn't get mad at me, because these folks that were in the Capitol, you know, they were horrible people, right? White supremacy is a crime. It's not treated as one in the United States of America, but it's a crime, and these people are criminals. But before we talk about what happened, I'm gonna just play a little bit.
On the surface, Wednesday started like so many Trump rallies had before.
You can never forget, y'all.
But the anger and the tension felt more intense. Congress was about to confirm Joe Biden's presidency, and most here were convinced it was a fraud.
Do you think people are angry today? Absolutely, people are angry, and you can feel it. You can feel the rage, the madness.
Before Trump's speech was
take
even
a look
finished,
at the number
many
of
were already
flags.
making their way
What's
to the
on those
Capitol.
flags? And then what they do with the flag.
And as more protesters arrived, the mood darkened.
Hold up, man! Hold up, man!
We're here at the Capitol steps right after the Trump speech was finished. People started filing over here and started pressing against the Capitol. Police are spraying mace and pushing the lines back so people can get through. We're going to move forward.
Man, when the Capitol Police came to work that day, I had no idea.
But as we pushed up,
Who's on the media? Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here!
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Get the fuck out of here!
they tried to smash our camera.
Just a couple more minutes, y'all.
Who? Who's your covering? This is CNN.
And some people have said there's no weapons. You're going to see a weapon. You see somebody show their weapons.
Police started throwing flashbang grenades and spraying mace. As the crowd pushed up, one man flashed his handgun at a group of journalists. The cops weren't prepared.
Look at the destruction. America, look at our Capitol.
The defense lines quickly fell apart.
Now remember, 140 police officers were injured on this day. 140.
Just
one more minute.
We want it back. Fuck these Democrats. Where's that?
Soon after, the mob was rampaging through the halls of the Capitol.
Now imagine, this is our capital.
From what
I'm gonna stop it here. I'm gonna stop it there. That's our capital, right? That is people's place of work. I know it's hard to watch. It's absolutely hard to watch. And, you know, we're sick of seeing it. We're sick of hearing about impeachment. We're sick of hearing about, you know, our old president. But here's the thing, is that this is a crime. White supremacist organizations, the KKK, what was it called, the Oath Builders or the Proud Boys, those are terrorist organizations. And whenever the FBI puts out they put out, like, you know, we're looking for this person, and they'll have a picture. You know, I always share it because we don't know where these people came from. I tell you one thing, for the most part, they did not live in Washington, D.C. They was not this mysterious Antifa. This was a planned and coordinated attack of white supremacists. And people who look like me, y'all, we can't let it go. We can't let it go. Yes, the Justice Department is going to need to do their part. Yes. But we need to continue to use our V's. We need to continue to speak out and say, that was wrong. This is the United States of America. And our country was attacked. And it shouldn't matter what the people look like who attacked us. What they did was criminal. They should be in jail, not in Mexico on vacation. Y'all hear about that? One of the insurrectionists requested permission to go on vacation. She's stressed out. She should never get out of jail, ever. So you're like, oh yeah, that's crazy. But guess what, y'all? Our justice system, the same justice system that will arrest you and me for nothing and lock us up and throw away the key, let her go. Let her go. She went on vacation. And she ain't the only one. Remember the shaman guy with the horns? He only wanted organic food. Get out of here. He only wanted organic food. Went on a hunger strike in jail. Refused to eat unless they gave him organic food. So if the terrorists in Afghanistan told us that they only wanted a certain kind of food, you think we obliged? Do you want to eat? I've never been in jail. I've never been in jail, but I've been told and I've seen on TV that the food's not the greatest. Food's not the greatest. We can never forget. And if you hear in that little video that I played, they kept saying over and over again, stop the steal. Stop the steal. That was the big lie. The election was not stolen. It was not stolen. It was not stolen. So that's my 2 cents. And I ain't letting it go. I'm going to keep talking about it. So hopefully you guys don't get sick and tired of me. I'm going to pivot. This is my final topic I want to talk about today. And that's the increasing of minimum wage. It's a lot to do about that, right? Lots to do about that. Lots of folks are talking about it. Pros and cons on both sides. You know, what I'm still impressed on is although our president You know, he wants to get the $1.9 trillion coronavirus package approved. You know, he's like, well, you know, if I can't get the minimum wage, you know, we will do it. We just won't do it right now. That's because he needs to hear from us. He needs to hear from us. And I ran some numbers, but before I get there, let me just talk to you a little bit. Our president needs our help. He needs our help. So when I looked at minimum wage was first created in 1938, right? And it's been increased throughout the years, you know, 7 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, and so forth. I have all years here in which minimum wage was increased over time, right? Never, and minimum wage has been increased 22 times since it was created. But here's the issue with minimum wage. It has never been adjusted to tie it to inflation. And it's time we do that. So we don't have to go through this kind of nonsense, right? You know, having to go back to Congress all the time to have people not make starvation wages. But 22 times minimum wage has been raised since 1938, but never before in history, I repeat, never before in history has it been 12, 13 years now, 13 years between a minimum wage hike. It's the first time ever. So this means it's time for us to activate, right? We got to be active. We've got to use our V's. So what would increase the minimum wage do to $15 an hour? And for me, I ain't picky. There's some people that say go straight to $15 an hour, which I think would only be fair. And then there's other people who say gradually increase it to $15 an hour, giving the economy a chance to adjust and giving businesses a chance to adjust. Either way, get it up to $15 an hour and then make it so that it's automatically adjusted with inflation. Because you cannot businesses aren't, some businesses, not all, some businesses just ain't going to do right by the people. They're going to keep the profits for themselves. Okay, so let's talk about it. So here you go. You know, there's good and bad, right? If there is a minimum wage increase to $15 an hour, 1.3 million people will be instantly brought out, working people will be instantly brought out of poverty. 1.3 million people who work will be instantly brought out of poverty. 27 million people will get a raise. 27 million people will get a raise. That's, wow, that sounds like a lot, right? Hey, Jazz. So 27 million people getting a raise with minimum wage. So I said, let me break that down. Well, how many adults are there in America that are over 18? There's 209 million adults in America. Remember, 27 million people of that 209 people, assuming that they all work, and we know everybody doesn't work, but assuming that they all work, 27 million people will get a raise. But then I said, wait a second. If you're over 65, you're probably retired. So let's take them out, right? So if you take the people out over 65 out, that's 50 million people, right? So what that means is that if we increase the minimum wage, 27 million people will get a raise out of approximately 159 million people, working adults, ages 18 and above. That's about 17% of y'all, working people, who will get a raise. We need to hear from all 27 million of you. If you are not making $15 an hour, you need to call your U.S. Senator and your U.S. Congressman. And I'm going to post those numbers for South Carolina on my wall. You can leave them a message, you can send them an email, but they need to hear from you. If you are one of the 27 million people, we can't just sit there and say, it ain't going to happen, so I'm not going to get involved. It doesn't matter. 27 million people out of 159 million workers. Y'all going to get a raise. We got to stick together. This is about the people. So now let's talk about the flip side, because there's jobs going to be lost. The CBO suggests that 1.3 million jobs will be lost. But I haven't had a chance to do this research yet. 1.3 million jobs will be lost. Our government needs, look at what's happening in Texas right now with fossil fuels, right? When we implement green energy, more jobs will be created, more higher paying jobs. We need to just raise the bar. Right now, we have so many people who are working every single day and they are still poor. We need to raise that bar so that people who work can afford to feed their families, period. They can afford to live on their own if you work. So 1.3 million jobs lost. Way more than that have been lost to coronavirus. We can't believe the hype. Push forward, push forward. We must increase the minimum wage. And why not now? Why not do it now as part of the 1.9 trillion COVID Relief Act? Right? So last time we spent 1.9 trillion just a couple years ago on Donald Trump's tax cuts. We could spend 1.9 trillion to raise 1.3 million people out of poverty, to make sure that we all get vaccinated, and all the wonderful things that are in that COVID release package. We could do it, and we need to do it. So I'm gonna end on that. And I thank you so much for spending time with me today on Mondays with Miko. And now this is what I'm gonna end on. Go Ox. Right now, I think they're probably playing, I don't know, the game may be over. But the Mullins Auctioneer basketball team is playing. I think they're in Columbia today. So if you guys are still playing, bring it home the Mullins. It's the playoffs, first round of the playoffs, okay? So again, much thanks to my guest today, Tiffany James. We need to be heard. If you're not registered to vote, by the way, down there, you could go to my website, www.mikocares.us. That's www.mikocares.us, and you can register to vote right online on my website. And then I'm going to be posting the phone numbers for you guys to call, and let's talk to our representatives. Tell them that you want minimum wage increase. If you don't make $15 an hour, you need to make that phone call. If you do make $15 an hour and you have a business, wouldn't it be nice to have more prospective customers that can afford your products? Help them. Help them. It's a lot of people. 17% of America will get a raise. Working America will get a raise. Let's do this. All right, y'all. Until next week, until next Monday, y'all have a blessed day. Take care.